Hi, everyone. Ryan and Dan coming to you. I know this isn't our normal opening. Ian's here with us in spirit, but we normally record these episodes pretty far in advance. And so, of course, this episode was recorded before the recent events of the LA fires. And obviously, LA is home to all three of us. We've all lived in different parts for a while. And so we just wanted to take a moment before this episode and shout out all the volunteers and firefighters who have been working so hard to control the fires. And our hearts go out to all the people who have been affected or have lost their homes. Obviously, this has been a devastating natural disaster for many, many people.
I think everybody in LA, even if you're not in a direct community that was affected by the fire, like displaced, I think everybody as a community has really just been affected by this tragedy. And what we've also seen a lot of the community coming together too. Some of the best of Los Angeles have really come out and are really supporting their neighbors, which is like a light at the end of the tunnel, I guess.
Agreed. And I know that a lot of the fires have gotten more under control, but there's still some that are out there. And a lot of the news coverage, I think, outside of LA has died down because the fires are quote unquote under control. But I think not a lot of people think about the fact that the disaster doesn't end when the fire stops. Rebuilding is going to take a lot of effort and time. And there's a lot of really cool initiatives and programs out there that if you are interested or willing to donate or support in any way, we're going to be putting some resources on our social media pages, as well as I know the American Red Cross is doing a lot of wonderful disaster relief, as well as Habitat for Humanity for people who have lost their homes.
Another one is the World Food Kitchen is a great service that's out here that's been helping in other tragedies. But here in LA, they are not only, I believe, feeding some of the community, but they're feeding the firefighters and the first responders as they are working tirelessly to help put out the rest of these fires.
Yeah, and the firefighters, I know some of them are working 13-hour days, multiple days a week without rest or breaks just because of everything that's been going on. So a huge shout out to all of the amazing people who have been working to counteract this disaster. It would be remiss of us not to address it. Our hearts go out to everyone affected. And obviously here at This Is Why You Died, we wanted to express our support for all of the amazing people reaching out and making a difference in the community and really helping, trying to support all the people who have been victimized by this horrendous event.
Well said, Ryan. And we will be sharing some more. We'll keep continually sharing updates and also just kind of ways to help support the LA community as time goes on. But without further ado, here is our regularly scheduled show.
Thank you guys so much.
This is why you died.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to This Is Why You Died, the horror podcast that asks the real questions, like who sharpens the chainsaws in the shed, and why does Jason feel he needs to compensate with that big shiny machete? Who's he fooling? I am Sir Ian Dangerous, and I am joined as always by my compatriots in carnage, Mr. Dan Marcha Madness and Ryan Ross live. Hello, gentlemen. How are you doing tonight?
Hello. I've never had to think about Jason's groin until right now, so thank you.
He's taken ball shots before.
True.
Honestly, I'm just a fan of compatriots in carnage. That sounds like it's not only great. It sounds like we could be a band. The compatriots in carnage.
It is a good name. Good name.
An idea for the future. But for right now, we've got to do this show. And before we get into what we're doing today, I've got to say, guys, we're doing this show just after the holidays. It's now officially 2025. And I've got to ask before we do the show, how were your holidays? What did you guys get up to? How did everything go? Did you get everything you wanted? Did you blow up things during New Year's? What happened?
My New Year's was uneventful because I have two young kids. We celebrate the East Coast midnight at 9 p.m. so that they can go to bed and I can struggle to stay up till midnight, and I usually fail. Christmas time was great. The elf on the shelf did his thing. Santa came, successful presents. So it was a good time with family.
That creepy fucking elf.
Yeah, elf, man, that elf.
Did you take our suggestion and like put some blood around his mouth at any point, like he ate something?
I never got super creepy with the guy. I didn't want to scare my kids that way. Not
Next
yet.
year.
Next year.
Yeah.
Next year's the year.
Got to get him a pet that can disappear.
Love it.
a gerbil or something.
Yeah. Something that you won't get too attached to. What about... I'm going to hell. What about you, Ryan? How was your holiday?
It was good. It was we went back to Denver, and as I said, we spent a lot of time with family, kind of running around, saw some friends. Funny story, I got in trouble with my mother because I was curious of my dad's opinion of the podcast. I asked him to listen to a couple episodes, and he listened to Silence of the Lambs and the Christmas episode because that was the only movie he'd seen, and then obviously it was the holidays. And my mom overheard my description of our holiday plans, and me describing us as hanging out and relaxing and doing nothing was not a positive spin for her.
No.
And she cried, and I was so upset.
Oh no!
I made her cry because she was like, "Oh, so we're just the house you come and do nothing at?" And she was like texting the whole family like, "I have options for plans this year, and we're gonna go to a wolf sanctuary and all this stuff." And I felt so bad, and so I had to like explain to her like, "No, it's compared to the chaos of Sasha's family, the relaxation is a good thing. Like doing nothing is not bad."
Okay, is anybody on Sasha's family listening to the podcast? Because you just called them chaotic.
Yeah.
I mean, they know they're chaotic. They're self-described as chaotic. That's fine. They don't mind that at all.
Okay,
but I did feel really bad because she took it really personally. And so apologies to my mom.
Oh, no. We're sorry.
We love the holidays with my family.
This is Ross Live. We did not mean to ruin your holiday. Our apologies from This Is Why You Died. This Is Why You Cried is what we should rename the podcast.
Yeah, the offshoot.
Oh, no.
The offshoot. I love it.
This is why Mom cried because this is why you died. Oh, God. Mine was not that dramatic, aside from the fact that we got dumped on by a snowstorm on New Year's Eve up in the mountains near Donner Pass. But aside from that, it was a lot of food. It was a lot of family and a lot of eating and ingesting lots of things.
As the holidays should be.
As it should be, yes.
Your video, your story post looks straight out from the opening of The Shining. It was epic. The snow.
It was cool.
In the snow.
Hence why I used that music.
Yeah, fit it perfectly.
I used the Shining music for this snowy scene that I was driving through on Christmas Eve, and yeah, I was feeling some very, 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 very shining-y on that trip. Yeah, very cute, very Kubrickian.
Hopefully not too shining.
There were some moments my parents were getting on my nerves. Not my parents, my family was getting on my nerves, but
we're starting a tradition on the podcast. We have to offend a parent every episode. Let's go.
They were offending me, let's be clear. But that being said, that actually leads us very nicely into our theme for the show today. If this is your first time joining our podcast, what we do is we pick cues at random out of our little receptacles, and then those cues indicate to us, we get creative and we pick a movie inspired by those cues. And then each one of us has to, based on that movie, make the other ones watch it. And then we all watch it. And we come back here and we review it for all of you. And we talk about it and talk about how it made us feel and what we think about it and themes and ideas and concepts and blah, 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 blah. And we get into it and it's a lot of fun. And then we figure out why someone died in it as well. So this episode is actually the beginning of our third round of picks.
Already there.
And,
round 3.
Start. And we're going to start with Mr. Dan Marcha Madness.
Back in
whose pick it is. Yes, sir. So what did you pick and why did you pick it?
My prompt started off with happiness. And I wanted to go a little bit, different. I think that as a horror fan, the easy choice for happiness would have been something maybe like a Happy Death Day because it's in the title, or maybe like Smile because that's just kind of an obvious choice. But I dug deep and I went back to a movie that I really loved. It's a very haunting, slow burn sort of movie with a final act that kind of took my breath away the first time I saw it. So I wanted to kind of introduce it to Ryan and introduce it to people that hadn't seen it yet. And I chose The Invitation, Karyn Kusama's Invitation from, I believe, 2015. Am I right on that?
2015.
Ian?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yep.
Yeah. So, we'll dive into it, but there is the idea of a maybe cult involved, an occult that's promising happiness, but there might be some ulterior motive. So that's where happiness led me to choose The Invitation.
I think it's a good choice. I think it's a nice ironic choice. But before we go any further, obviously we have to disclaim, as we always do, spoilers. Spoilers, heavy spoilers, as always on this show. If you're listening to the show, please go watch the movie first if you haven't seen it. Otherwise, you are fair game because we're going to talk about everything for this movie. So
it's your decision.
Going forward, you are in your own peril. So obviously, Dan, you like this movie a lot. I've seen it as well. I like it a lot as well. I've got some thoughts about it. We're going to discuss that. Ryan, did you know anything about this movie going into it? And if not, then what were your, like, did you go in completely blind?
I went in nearly completely blind. You two had hinted at some point that there was some culty aspect to it, and that's about all I knew. And so I went in really blind. I didn't know the setting. I didn't know the time period. I didn't know anything about the characters. And so definitely kind of a fresh perspective. One question I actually had before we dive in, though, is I was surprised how difficult to find this movie was in terms of like getting to stream it, because there's another movie called The Invitation that's more recent that I kept finding instead. And I was wondering why that was.
I mean, I've got a couple of suspicions. This one did not do a whole lot of business, and the newer one did better. I don't think it did great business, but it did better business than this. This one was made on a budget of I think just $1 million, and it only grossed in theaters like $350,000. Like it did not make a lot of money.
I gotcha. Yeah.
And Karyn Kusama is kind of, I don't want to say she's anti-studio because she's not, but she's definitely had some run-ins with the studio system in her career, which I would like to kind of touch on in a little bit. But this movie was definitely made in her peer when she wanted to like go experiment with smaller movies. She had just come off doing Aeon Flux in 2005 with Charlize Theron and Jennifer's Body in 2009.
Okay.
So
Jennifer's Body, I when I was looking for it, I found that she had done Jennifer's Body, and that's one that I actually have seen. And I was like, that's a weird movie. So I was surprised. Jennifer's Body? Well, so Sasha's Sasha's more of a horror fan than I am and has seen a bunch of random, and she also watches way more films than I do in general. But she showed at least part of it, if not the whole thing, to me, I think during COVID. Okay. Like years ago, a little bit after we had moved in together. Because she was like, this is such a weird movie and you should watch it, essentially.
It is weird. It's good, though. It's very good. Yeah. Diablo Cody did a great job writing that. But no, so with The Invitation, this is kind of Kusama's getting back to basics. That was where she was in her career at this point. So a quick introduction to the movie for everybody. I mean, I'm assuming at this point, if you're here, you either watched it or you don't care. But yeah, it was made in 2015 by Karyn Kusama, who started off her career with Girl Fight, which was Michelle Rodriguez's first movie. It's about a female boxer. And more recently, she has been the executive producer of Yellow Jackets, if you've seen that show. And she also did a movie in 2018 called Destroyer, which is pretty good as well.
That's cool if you want to see Nicole Kidman kind of in a different light.
Very different light. Yeah, no. And Kusama's very good at doing, I mean, I think she's even said that she makes feminist movies. And this movie, The Invitation, was written by her husband, Phil Hay, and his writing partner, Matt Manfredi, who also did like R.I.P.D. It was a bit of a step aside for her because it wasn't specifically about women's experiences. It was about something bigger. It was about her and Manfredi and Hay all experiencing similar things, the losses of close friends or family members when they were young, or at having grief at some point in their life, and they wanted to explore that or express that somehow. And so I obviously, Dan, you must have known that from watching the film, because this movie is very much about trauma and grief and dealing with that and how people deal with it or don't deal with it. It's pretty damn heavy. I got to say, watching it the second time for me was heavier than the first time, because the first time, I don't know if it's my own personal trauma or whatever, but I was waiting the entire movie for something to happen. I was kind of like Will, the main character, where I kept waiting for the bad thing to happen and it kept not happening.
Right.
And I was like, I know it's going to happen. Here we are. It's a horror movie. I know it is. And at some point, shit's going to break loose. Like, yeah, they keep saying they're not in a cult, and there's stuff that keeps happening to say, no, everything's fine. And I'm like, no, at some point, shit's going to happen. I have to ask, guys, I had a much heavier time the second time watching it.
Wow.
What did you guys think of this movie?
I had a better time watching it the second time, and because I got to analyze it from knowing the ending. It's one of those great movies that has like a nice, something's coming, but it is still shocking of an ending, and the reasoning behind it, that the breadcrumbs that they plant for you along the way, all these little moments that you're very confused by the first time. They're laid there and they're showing you just little bits because you're very uneasy, and they're to cause uneasiness and to cause you to feel like what's actually going on here. But upon the second viewing, when you know what actually happened, these little clues that they give you make so much more sense and really offer so much to the story that I was like, wow, this is really like a very rich, deep storytelling, even though there's like, you can take it as a surface level, but there's all these little tidbits that made it really kind of fun to watch the second time, as opposed to the first time, which, as you said, it's like, it's dealing with trauma, it's dealing with grief, and how people can manipulate those that are, going through that grief, and what they can do to them, and also what you can fall for when you're going through that big of a change in your life.
When you're desperate.
When you're desperate, yeah, for an answer, for hope, for something to keep you going.
Vulnerable. When you're vulnerable.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's funny. I think it's you got caught up in the technical aspects of the telling of the story, the beats of it, and I feel like that was my experience the first time, was knowing it's coming anyway, and so I see, okay, that's going to lead to this. I kind of saw everything coming, and it was just like waiting to get there. And this time I was able to sit more back and enjoy the performances in it, which I thought were. I appreciated much more this time. Logan Marshall Green in particular, as Will, is just a walking open wound, and I was really feeling his performance this time. But that being said, that's our. We already knew what was coming, so now I'm interested in Ryan. Fresh eyes. How did you feel about The Invitation?
So I enjoyed it with an asterisk in the sense that, like, I think that the movie does a really good job of what it's trying to do. I think it really balances the suspense and the discomfort of the social setting. Actually, this is, I think, the second film that we've watched that it really felt like a play, in the sense of like the insular location, the people entering and exiting, and the very purposeful conversations leading from one thing to the next felt scripted, but not necessarily in like a bad way. And like it didn't take me out too much. It felt like a cohesive performance in that sense. I think that I wish there was a little bit more of a payoff at the end, frankly. I think that the suspense of it and kind of the anticipation of it coming, and you're kind of able to piece together, for the most part, kind of to your guys' point, they hint a lot of what's coming throughout. And so it's not too far out of left field when shit hits the fan. But I do think that the escalation of that, when they actually when things go wrong and then it escalates so quickly, that was done very well. I just think that beyond that, like the whole Red Lantern bit where they look out over the horizon and they see all the lanterns, I wouldn't say it jumped the shark for me, but it kind of felt like it nudged it a bit. It felt, at that point, it felt very grounded to me, and it felt like something that was really like it could potentially happen. Of course, it's dramatized. It would be semi-unrealistic for those kind of logistics to go into on such a grand scale. But the dinner party is something that could occur. It feels relatable. It feels like that's part of the horror of it, is it feels real. And then the minute that they do like, this entire hillside is covered with them, like now it starts to feel like the amount of influence that something like that could have, the amount of effort and the amount of resources something like that could have, seems wildly out of the ballpark to me. And so that kind of took me out of the ending, which was a little sour, but overall I really really I think.
I'm going crazy over here. I'm just like
Dan is crawling out of his skin.
I wish for those of you listening at home, they were both like they were eyebrows raised halfway through me talking, and then there were big grins and like shoulders and things. Well, we should dive in. Let's dive in.
I'm gonna let Dan take the first shot here. Go ahead.
Okay. First of all,
he squares up. Okay, let's go.
There's many directions. There's many ways that I could start at first, but I'm going to say that what I loved was the ending and the Red Lanterns, because what I think is really cool, because there's a few movies that have pulled this off and then done this well, is that that this is It's an ultra low budget movie. You're in one location. You're not going anywhere else. You know, like what they shot an opening sequence on a road, and then you have like a wide shot of a road, and then you're just in this house. So it's a low budget movie. You've got a cast that's, you know, pretty good, but you're going to stay here. And so this could have been a small film, which you liked, Ryan, but that last few minutes by showing that red lamp, and then you see this hillside where you realize that it's like, oh, this isn't just happening in this house. This idea has spread across Los Angeles, and people are being murdered all over in this one moment was just such a great shock of an ending, because it's like with some sound design and luckily there were some helicopters flying above when they shot outside. It felt bigger. It felt like a slightly bigger ending than it was. Upon rewatch, it wasn't that. It didn't have that same impact as it did when I first saw it. I think I saw it in 2016, 2017 for the first time. I saw it like a couple years after it came out. So it didn't have as big of a shock, but I liked what it was going for. So I really love that ending. And then I have to say, I know I don't want to dive into politics. I don't think that this show should do that. But when you say that for an event to be calculated and to occur, January 6th happened, my friend. People calculated and came together, and things happened. It can happen. Ideas can spread, you know, like it can happen.
But I agree with you. My counterpoints would be the following. One, I think that a political party versus what's essentially like, they kind of attribute it to one guy, right? There's this one guy in Mexico who's like putting out essentially YouTube videos and calling people out into the bush. Those are different scales of logistics and resources, would be my argument for that. And the second thing is, I do agree it's a cool twist. I don't think it's a bad twist. I think that the idea and the concept is a cool one, and it is an interesting progression of the idea. It just felt out of place in the scale of the movie. From, to your point, it feels very insular for the whole thing, and to open it up so wide so fast without really any explanation felt a little jarring.
Gotcha.
Like, it's not that the twist is a bad twist. It's a cool one. I just think it could have been executed slightly better. That's my take, I guess.
Wow.
Interesting.
I have to say, I'm going to take Dan's side on this, where I think that, well, in the sense that both, when I first watched the movie and the twist, if you will, hit, I thought it was very effective. I was like, ooh, that's okay. That's good. I thought it was very chilling. Like, ooh, the same sort of thing is happening in other places. I mean, they didn't cover the hillside in red lights. It was like, there's like about 10 other houses up here, at least in the LA area, where this is happening, right? And I thought that having it be about a cult was also very believable, because you think about how many people were at Jamestown. If he had sent everyone back into society to reintegrate, and each one of those 1,000 or 1,100 people, whatever it was, brought it together, all the people that they wanted to be around when they died, you know, you could have a fairly big movement. And that's just Jamestown.
That's true.
Not even to talk about the kind of, you know, cultural brainwashing that we have going on right now. That's country, wild, worldwide, whatever you want to call it. You know, I think the idea of culty behavior is certainly one that's more salient now than it was 10 years ago. It actually was funny. The first time I saw the movie was in 2014 when it came out. And I laughingly said to a friend of mine, because which we had both done in 2009, we had done a low budget horror film called The Blackout, which, good luck finding it. It got dropped by distributors when it was leaked.
No.
And yeah, so they just, it's out there, but it's really, really, really hard to find.
We're going to find it.
But good luck.
Put it on the Instagram page.
The ending of that movie takes it from all happening within an apartment building where there's like a underground alien invasion. Aliens from underground are coming, whatever.
Oh, that's cool.
They all come up and are terrorizing us, and we're all climbing the building to try to get out. And of course, we get to the top, and the whole city's on fire, and stuff's coming out of the ground. And like, there's one big shot of it being everywhere, right? It's not just this building where things are, like a critter has come out of this building. It's actually citywide, all the buildings. Everything's blacked out. So we were joking like, oh, Karyn Kusama must have seen our film. That's awesome. That's so cool. She took our idea. It's a great idea, isn't it? Yeah, it's happening everywhere. But no, I thought that was chilling. And I like the fact that it took it from a chamber piece, something very intimate and very much about personal trauma and overcoming personal trauma, and about how the people close to you deal with you and personal trauma. And you look at how, I mean, throughout the film, everybody talks to Will individually. Everyone comes up to him and goes, "Hey, dude, how you doing?" And he goes, "Kind of shitty." And they're like, "Great." And they all interact with him in different ways, but mostly dismissively. Except for his girlfriend, who she finally gets her shot, and she says, "I'm here to help you. I'm going to help you. I want to, let's get through this together." And he says, "I don't think you can help me." And leaves it at that. It's this moment where someone finally does something that could be effective, and he turns it away because, of course, when you're in trauma, you can't always see what you need. And the end of the movie is they grasp hands while they're looking out on this sea of red lights. Not the sea, but there's a bunch of them on the hillside.
Yeah.
And they're realizing in that moment, there's all these other people who have experienced loss and trauma, because that's what brought them into the cult in the first place. And so it's a way of saying that everyone is dealing with their own trauma. Everyone has these secret pains that they experience. And it's a way of externalizing what up until that point had been a very internal movie. It's having the realization that there is a world out there where other people are hurting. It's not just me. It's not just the people in my immediate circle. A lot of people are dealing with pain and grief and trauma. So it didn't just work for me as a nice twist, as like a raising of the stakes of the movie at the last moment, or like a nice little, he was dead all along kind of thing. It was actually, I thought, as far as what the movie was going for in terms of meaning, I thought it was a very powerful statement.
It's interesting because I hadn't considered it from that angle, and I do think that that's a strong angle. I wish that angle was more prevalent, to your point, with throughout the party. Of like, part of what I appreciated about the movie was the fact that, to your point, they all have these very deep interactions of like, hey, like they're all friends, they've all got history, and they all connect in different ways over their history. Of like, there's the one guy who's kind of like bro-y, there's the one who's kind of like, he can joke about like, hey, my wife and I hate each other, but things are fine. And like each of them kind of has like their role within the group and interacts with Will through that kind of shared experience. And I liked that element of it. I feel like the shared trauma loss spread would feel better if the characters that showed loss within the party weren't just Will and the people in the cult. If there were some of the friends who like either were a little bit tempted by the cult thing, or even just within their conversations with Will were like, I'm sorry that like what you went through was terribly hard, and like, I'm here for you. You're not the only one who's experiencing this type of thing. A, or B, like, I have some stuff I want to talk to you about because I feel like I can relate to you on a better level than we could 2 years ago since I last saw you, whatever that may be. And we don't really, other than the friend who kind of jokes about his wife, we don't really see a lot of that.
Well, that's a counterpoint. What do you say to someone who's lost a child at 5 years old and who is still obviously in a ton of grief? If you are dealing with your own shit, like that was kind of how the friend in the kitchen was. He's like, yeah, me and my wife were not having a good time. I'm not going to get into that. Like that's shit I'm dealing with, but I'm not going to lay that on you because you're in your old home where your kid died.
Yeah. And that's valid. Like, and I think honestly, that's one of the better interactions.
I actually appreciated a few of the interactions more this time, kind of like you did, Dan, where I appreciated the fact that some of them felt much more human and much more real to me, the way that they came to him. And I liked the different variety of ways that they came to him, where it wasn't all one note, hey dude, cheer up. It was, they felt like unique people.
I even noticed that I felt like, sorry, I'm forgetting her name, but
is it Gina?
The Asian woman?
Yeah.
Sure.
I liked Gina's interaction too.
Gina's interaction, now upon watching it a second time, and this actually, now that I think about it, it could be my third time seeing this movie, but hers felt like she needed to say that to him so she felt better about herself. She
really
100%
felt
guilty that she did not like reach out to him. So she was like, I have to make myself feel better right now because I feel like crap for not talking to him. So I'm just going to talk to him. And she basically did the like, if you need anything, let me know type of thing. Like when someone goes through loss, that's kind of like the, like, that's like the, like, let me know if you need anything. That's like the most passive way to help somebody. And that's what she did. She just needed to feel better about herself. So, and I didn't notice that. I thought like all the friends were trying to be nice and he was pushing them away, but I could see in the second time that some of them were like, didn't know how to connect with them and just needed to feel better about themselves because they had
their own wants. Yeah. Everyone had their own perspective. Exactly, I thought it was handled pretty well too.
Yeah.
But
Interesting. I didn't catch that.
But here's the question I have, because you mentioned, Ryan, that you had a bit of a problem with the ending. I have a problem with the middle. And this is actually, so this is my beef with the film. I actually think it's a very good film that's flawed as well. And the flaw for me is what I call like the double bluff, where finally after an hour, almost to the minute, an hour after the beginning of the runtime of this essentially drama of manners where everyone's just too polite to tell these psychos to stop doing this. And there's not like they're doing anything egregious, like Speak No Evil. They're just obviously trying to pitch this cult idea to everyone else, and no one else is catching on to it, and they're getting annoyed, and everything's kind of creepy and everything's kind of weird, but no one's really addressing it. And finally Will just snaps and goes, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
Who's this chick?
Yeah.
What are we doing here? What's going on?
Where's Choi?
Why are the doors locked? Yeah, where's Choi? Choi said he was going to be here. He called me and said he was here. He's not here. What's going on? And he finally snaps.
Which, by the way, you play the message, dude. You just listen to this message on your phone. You're holding your phone in the hand for like half the scene. His girlfriend's 2 seats down from you. Just play the message. That would give you so much more validity, but whatever.
It mattered. It's
Anyway,
still
continue.
his word. I mean, at that point, like,
Yeah.
whatever. He called me. He said he was outside, and you guys are being weird, and he's not. What's up? And then miraculously Choi walks in right then. What do they do if Choi doesn't walk in?
Oh,
Right? Like it's a Deus Ex Machina moment where he saves the whole scenario. They would have had to shoot them all. What happens? So to me that was a fake out that didn't need to happen, and it led to an extra 10-15 minutes of runtime where he then has to go and find another thing that shows that bad things are going on. It's like, how many things does he have to see? How many times does he have to get the message? I felt like that chunk, the lead up to the actual explosion of violence when things finally go sideways, I thought it's the only place where it stumbled is getting into that third act when things have gone south, and now we know that they're all out. They're a death cult, and they're here to send everyone to the other side or whatever it is. It was the build to that moment. Even with him coming back and just being with the directing being so obvious with the glasses of wine on the table, like holding on them. For me, the tension, it wasn't tension. It was excruciating. I was like, come on, get to it, and maybe that's just, I've seen too many of these kinds of movies. I don't know. Dan, you said it worked for you. Did that whole sequence work for you?
It does actually. Like I liked the placement of where you really start to be like, okay, Will, just kind of calm down. Maybe this is not right. And then he gets that message from Choi. I like the placement of it. I like the buildup. And then when they introduce him in, watching it a second time, I was like, that's great. That's great because it allows Will to then really break down where you're like really second guessing. Like, okay, this guy's losing it. But then it's like you said, it's like, well, if Choi didn't walk in, like they're going to have to move forward with the plan somehow, or how do they talk their way out of that?
Well, I agree with you that it was really awesome to see Will break down and really second guess himself. That's a fantastic moment. I'm glad they had that. How else do we achieve that without having the magic arrival?
Right.
And then having just the air let out so much, then they never get the air back again. It never gets the same tension back again after that break. And that's kind of, I think that I don't know what it is off the cuff right here, but if there was another way to build that tension, have him break sooner, something.
Interesting.
It was too long.
I felt like, I guess maybe it just still worked for me because I liked them still laying the breadcrumbs and then paying it off and really trying to second guess where it was. And I thought it was so, it worked for me. I mean, it sounds like maybe it didn't work for you, but I thought it was really great how a crazy hippie psycho girl hits her head and she's on the ground, and then you hear she's not breathing, and he's like, yeah, I know. And then it's like, no, they're talking about Gina.
Yeah, that
like,
double
that
reveal is cool.
Great. I was like, that
I really
was
like
really
that.
smart. Like where you're like, wait, what's going on? Because that just caught me completely off guard. Where then it's like, then the violence just comes right there, and you're like, what's going on? Like that still worked for me a second time. So
the chaos of that scene is great.
Yeah.
I do think the trigger there is really well executed. And I think, honestly, with the Choi thing, when that doorbell rang, so I was watching this with Sasha. We try to watch these together if we can. I said out, we were like, oh God, that's going to be Choi. And then I said out loud, I kind of hope it's not Choi. I hope Choi's safe. And then it ended up being Choi. And I was like, okay, like of course it's Choi. It makes sense.
The most useless character in the whole movie.
Yeah.
He comes in, hi, babe, sorry I'm late. It was work. And then he gets shot like 5 minutes later. He's got like 2 lines.
And then like he made the choice to call his friend and leave a long voicemail. But then when work calls, he can't be like, oh shit, I hope you really do this because I'm not going to be there. You know, you're right. It is a bit. It's a bit fumbly right there for sure. Definitely.
It's a bit of script magic.
I feel like, I mean, you could even say that they probably wrote a first draft. They're like, oh shit, how do we get to this third act? Let's add a Choi in there, you know, because he's just like, he's kind of like he is like a tool. He's like a little misdirect here and there. You introduce him. Yeah. He like he doesn't even get to eat his meal and then boom, dead. Bye.
Well,
bye, Choi.
And also to that point, if they were like, they emphasized so much at the beginning, where's Choi? Where's Choi? Choi's the most unreliable Korean in Los Angeles. Like if they didn't eventually do something with Choi, everyone would be like, what would be with the Choi?
We should recut this trailer as a comedy.
Just Choi.
But instead of like, dude, where's my car? It's called, where's Choi?
Dude, where's my Choi?
And it's just this comedy, dude, where's my Choi? Because they just say
we make it
as opposed to right now where it's essentially Chekhov's Choi and you're waiting the entire movie for him to show up. I mean, I would have even preferred if he had showed up like right before the credits, like, you know, they're staring at all these red lanterns and he shows up, you know, knocks on the front door with some pastries going, hey guys, I'm finally back.
What the fuck happened?
What's going on? Everything okay? Got some steak left over from your buddy Choi? Huh?
Oh,
no?
Man.
Hello?
Holy shit, is that Gina?
What's Choi's job that he's got to go back? You know, what does Choi do?
Well, it's LA, which, you know, who knows what, he probably got 5 jobs. But that's something I wanted to bring up is we're all Angelinos here, boys.
Yes.
We all live in some part in LA. We are all in the industry, the film industry, if you will, film and TV and video games in some capacity or other. This is a very LA movie.
Very.
Karyn Kusama specifically said that she had to put it in LA. It's about the mythology of LA was the actual word that she used. I think probably because of the Mansonian, which they even call out at a certain point in the movie. Is this a little Manson-y, isn't it? I think the Mansonian relationships, but also I think there's something else to LA why they had to have this here. And I've got my thoughts, but I want to hear you guys speak on it. Ryan, why do you think they put this in LA? This had to be in LA.
Well, I think a lot of the relationships feel very LA. The kind of like everyone's kind of flashy. All their personalities are a little bit flashy in different styles. And like they all kind of have like the little badge that they're wearing of like the one guy's a doctor. And like the one girl's clearly the woo party girl from the past that's like still kind of like Gina's still a little rowdy and whatever. And so like and then on top of that, there's that kind of veneer to all of their friendships of like some of the friendships, like I think his name also Dan, the jokey friend that hates his wife.
Ben.
Ben. So Ben, like that felt like more of like a organic, actually deeper relationship, but he has the veneer of humor, of he hides behind jokes, and like the husband of the doctor. There were a lot of names. I don't remember all their names, but the husband of the doctor who's one of the survivors at the end, he was very like macho bro-y, like, dude, like, how's it going? Like everybody has that kind of like Pacific veneer, I guess I would say, to them. And that seems to permeate a lot of their relationships of even though they are friends and even though they do have some genuine connection, it's all kind of filtered through that. Like everything's got to be a little glitzy. Everything's got to be a little glammy. And even the dinner party itself feels very LA. They spend like 2 hours before they get to dinner. They're hanging out drinking. They've gone like 3 glasses of wine deep and they've watched a whole video. And then they're like, oh, and now it's dinner time. And I'm like, I think they have like 6 or 7 glasses of wine throughout the night. I'm like, God damn.
Have you boys ever been to a party up in the hills like that? Have you ever been to like a little gathering up in the hills like that? Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. This is for those of you listening who don't live in LA, this whole setup for this movie is so realistic.
Yes.
Like that, the no cell phone signal having, like, I know that's a trope in so many movies. No, really, in the canyons, there is no signal and it will come in and out. It's not a joke. That is actually a thing. There will be coyotes. You might hit a coyote. This is all of this is real. Your flaky friends will all be there and they'll pretend like you've seen them. Oh, I haven't seen you in 2 years. And it's like, you just pick right up where you left off.
And there's always the one friend who's super late.
Yep. Oh God, always. They barely make it in time. Always.
Honestly, the only trope that they were missing is they didn't mention at all how all of them parked. That was a trope they were missing. They're like, they're all just like, the only hint they have is like,
he did say he did that.
I parked behind you.
No, he
Right.
parked her in.
But-
they did touch on it, Ryan. He parked her in.
He parked her
But
in.
there were like 7 couples at this
Yeah,
party. There were more cars than that.
I want to talk about that part too before we like. I still want to speak on this subject, but parking her in was on purpose because
Of course.
they did something to her for sure, right? Yes,
Of course.
Well, so,
yeah.
okay, I actually looked this up.
Yeah, there's a lot of theories in this movie, which is great. I love like deep diving into like the theories of what was happening off screen during
Well,
during
so
this
Claire is definitively, besides Will, I think that Will is brilliantly done. I think besides Will, Claire is my favorite character by far.
My spirit
followed
animal.
by Ben.
She's my spirit animal.
So, like,
absolutely.
She's incredible. Like, she's one of the only reasonable ones in the movie. She's the one who's like literally like, this is weird. I think I'm out. Like, she's grounded. She actually like relates to Will and like humanizes with him on like a relatable level. Like, her and Ben, I think, are the most genuine interactions he has the whole evening. And also, I have a soft spot. Both my mother and my girlfriend are teachers, and they're like, you got tenure. Like, there's an element of that too. But we were both multiple times towards the end of the movie like, what happened to Claire? Like, did Claire survive? And so then the movie just ends and you don't know. We looked it up. And so, yeah, there's all these theories. It's intentionally left ambiguous. Apparently, Karyn Kusama confirmed in a commentary that originally in the movie, they were going to find Claire dying in the bushes during the climax.
That makes sense.
And
Yeah.
that Pruitt killed her off screen, or like attacked her off screen.
Choked her.
Yeah.
But they removed it, and like, I'm glad they removed it because Claire deserves to live. But also, like, I also have no idea how they would fit it in. Like, she's just like in the backyard or something.
It would
Like,
have been too much. Yeah, I agree with them keeping it out.
There's no way for them to logically fit that in without just feeling like it's shoehorned. But like, Claire deserves to live, man. She's the best one.
It's
believe
chilling
Claire
that it's ambiguous,
Yeah.
you know, and it's
Yeah.
also, I like the fact that they made it very clear that if you drive a Prius, that Pruitt will target you and he
Yep.
will park behind your Prius. I got to kill the person in the Prius first.
Gotta get him first.
That was his mentality.
Let me jump back too, because you were asking like why
Pruitt
do you
the
think,
Prius hunter.
You were
Pruitt the
talking
Prius
about your
hunter.
theory of why you think it had to take place here, right? And I think you touched upon it. It's totally believable that like in the hills that you're gonna run out of cell phone signal and you're not gonna have it, which is a good trope to have in a horror film. And so to put it in the Hollywood Hills makes it believable, you know. But I also want to say too that I feel like comparatively to, if you want to say like to an East Coast New York thing or a West Coast LA thing, people in LA are a lot more passive and they're a lot more accepting of the moment, even if they feel uncomfortable in it. And there was
That's true. The polite aspect.
There was multiple times where like, it's LA. You know, it's like, especially when the weird girl pops out of the room who's like, oh, they're having me here. Thanks for letting me join the party. And she's just so creepy, but everyone's like, oh, it's LA. It's fine. They're weird.
They literally
Yeah.
had that line. There's literally that line. They're a little weird, but this is LA.
Right. So it's like, even if you're uncomfortable and even if you feel like you want to get out of the situation in this, like in Los Angeles, it's just more like, well, people are just weird here and I have to be accepting here. So I'm just going to stay in this situation because maybe
Nobody
I'm
wants to be
wrong.
rude.
You know, nobody wants to be rude. And I think that helps that it takes place here too. So that's another
Absolutely.
thought of mine.
I want to kind of start bringing this to a close here because we have a couple of little bits of business before we get out. But I want to end on this concept here that they touch on, and I kind of brought it up earlier. But when Kira says to him, "Let's get through this together," and he says, "You cannot help me," but then at the end they reach for each other's hands. To me, that was the movie implicitly saying, yes, that is how you get through trauma. You reach out to someone else, you let them be there, like you find ways to get through it together. Like, you know, community is the way that we get through, not walking away from it, not acting like it doesn't exist, or quote unquote releasing it because, you know, you're all going to take barbiturates and die. It's something that, you know, it's going to be with you. You have to deal with, but you don't have to be alone. And I think that was the message there. What do you guys think about dealing with trauma. Is this movie saying essentially we can help each other through trauma? What do you think it's saying?
I don't even realize that I think that was the point, that was like the main message of the movie until this talk right now, and I'm really like agreeing with your kind of what you're bringing across, Ian. But I gotta say that leaning towards that it even happened for me sooner, not even just the grabbing of hands. After they watch Ben get stabbed and they're hiding out in that kind of storagey room area looking through the window, he looks at her and he says, "Whatever it takes, we're getting through this together." And I think that is even hits it bigger on the head of like, whatever it takes to get through the trauma, get through it together, not alone, because you're not going to get through it alone. You got to get through it with support, with somebody that can help you. So that is definitely, I agree that's definitely a message. And that's where it hit for me, was in that scene.
I agree with you both. There's one piece of the puzzle that doesn't fit for me. And it's that, so one of the things that I caught specifically in that conversation with Will and it's Kira.
I think so. Yeah.
Right? Will and Kira, when he says like the whole, "I don't think you can help me," her reaction in that moment is very negative, of like, she basically goes like, "Okay," and she walks away, she slams the door. And like, granted, like to the point of like the LA polite thing, like everyone's entitled to their feelings or whatever, but he's in a very adverse scenario. He's clearly struggling, and it's a fair thing to say like, "I don't know that you can help me right now." Like, that's a fair thing, and she takes that very personally. And in that moment, that felt very negative to me. Of like, she was trying to be supportive, and then because he wasn't able to accept her support in the way she was trying to present it, then she was offended and like wasn't able to cope with that. And I felt like that was it made me think less of the character in the moment, of like, she's not really capable of supporting him in the way that he needs right now either. Because she's trying to, like, the gesture's good, but he's saying, I need to get through this. And rather than being understanding, she's personally offended. But then to Dan's point, I do think that scene's really helpful in the sense of like, we can get through this, let's get through this together. We're a team. I think that's very unifying. But also, on the other hand, a lot of the following scene, other than her kind of saving him from Pruitt, is led by Will. Will kind of is the leader of the scenario. He's guiding her through the house. He's shot calling, like, "This is what we're going to do. This is where we're going to go." And she's able to save him in that one moment, but it doesn't feel super team from a lot of that last scene. Because he kind of is the guiding force, which I feel like undermines that message a little bit. I do think that message still rings through for the film as a whole. I think it could have been executed slightly better throughout within that kind of that through line, within
the details. Yeah, I
have one slight disagreement, but go for it.
Okay,
I'm gonna jump in here real quick, because I think that Ryan actually makes a lot of good points there. The one thing that I will say is I actually like the fact that she gets upset. We all have our own personal emotions. We all take things personally, and she's human. And I think that Kusama is really good at showing people be human and be flawed. And ultimately, when the chips are down, she does save him from Pruitt, and he's leading her through the house because it is his house. It makes more sense that he would be leading her through. But I know what you're saying, that like he's taking more of like the direct actions. Like, he's coming up with ideas. I totally agree with what you're saying there. But I agree. I think that it could have been a little cleaner, but I think that they gave up being on the nose with being more human and kind of going more for human emotions.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. Dan, I want to hear your thing.
I think, Ian, you said it, but my slight disagreement was just that even though, Will led that scene, it was her that ended up defending him against Pruitt. She's the one, right? And what I loved was see if you guys caught this too, or if this was the purpose of it, but I love that she is now taking the weapon, beating Pruitt, in a mirrored fact of what we saw in the beginning of him having to beat the coyote.
Yeah.
Well, I love that kind of juxtaposition of seeing like she's witnessing him take care of her in that way and take care of that. And then like he gets to step back and watch her kind of step up and like defend them and beat him to death, basically.
Can I say the most disturbing moment for me in the entire movie was him killing the coyote?
Yeah, that was
at the beginning of the movie.
The yelp.
I was so sad. I was so saddened by that. And I feel bad for the poor little coyote.
Yeah.
I mean, but it is what you have to do. And he's so numb from trauma that he puts this coyote that he's hit with his car down because it's just the thing you do. And he's just going through the motions, even though like it is kind of calling back to his son getting killed by a baseball bat.
Yeah.
He's beating this poor coyote to death with a tire iron. Ugh.
Yeah.
But
heavy.
so that's the invitation, boys. That was we've had a lot of things to talk about. It's heavy. It's a heavy discussion.
It's a heavy movie.
It's a heavy movie, and I'm glad we all watched it. But I think we're gonna get a little lighthearted here and talk about why people died in this movie.
Why people died.
Because we got to figure out.
Is it lighthearted?
Is
it really?
We're gonna try and make it lighthearted because Jesus Christ, this whole show we've been like, well, trauma and grief and pain, things are so sad. But so we
the prompt was happiness, by the way.
That's the irony of the whole thing. Happiness was the prompt, Dan. But here we are. We're at the time of the show. Luckily, there's a lot of bodies in this movie.
A lot of bodies.
We've had some movies where we don't have a lot of options. We got a lot of people in this movie.
Who wants to go first?
That end up dead. I'll just take the first shot right now because I'm already on a roll, and I've already kind of I've kind of winkingly half said it already. But frankly, I think that I know why someone died, and that's because she drove a Prius. And when you drive a Prius around Arthur Lee Allen, Twisty the Clown, John Carroll Lynch himself, he's going to come for you first. You try to get it. You're not taking your Prius out of here, lady. You're going down first. You're going to be ended up in the bushes in the cut film. That's why she died. I could tell Ryan's mad at me about that. I'm sorry I took the
Yeah, he loves Claire.
No.
The teacher.
No.
I got your girl.
Honestly, I Ian coming out here and stealing girls.
Swinging.
Honestly, I'm gonna go. Gina. Gina just couldn't wait to take that drink.
She was
still going.
She was like, she was all in on the party, baby. She's not waiting for the cheers. She's sneaking
true
a sip
Angelino. Free wine. Let me get it.
Oh man, so, yeah, I think Gina's the obvious one for me.
And what about you, Dan? We've got the Prius driving teacher. We've got Gina just slogging that wine.
Gina was my choice.
Oh no,
Gina was my choice. So I got to think up one on the fly, and I'm just gonna go.
There's plenty.
You got a few more.
Yeah, there's plenty. But you know what I'm gonna say? I'm gonna go with Choi. Just should have stayed at work.
Joy should have
stayed at work, man. Just hey, call it a night. Be like,
or just gone home.
Just go home, man. It's 11 o'clock. It's midnight. Whatever time it was by the time. Just like head home. Tell your girlfriend I'm tired. I was at work doing whatever I do, hacking, surgery. I don't know. What does Choi do? What's his job? You never say.
He's got that long ponytail. He's probably a delivery driver or something.
Choi is the Chandler Bing of the invitation. What's he do for his job? Does anyone know?
I know he's got some dude. He's a gigolo or something. Because that's the only reason why.
Yeah.
That only explanation.
They can't do anything without me, he says.
Oh, sorry, honey. I've got to go do my job.
Yeah.
What is your job, honey? I can't tell you. It's highly secret. They call me when I'm a foot from the door and I've got to run and do it immediately now.
Yeah.
But
that's what he is.
All right. So we've got a whole bunch of people now who we figured out why they died. Let's take the time to give this movie some awards. It's Scully time, boys.
Nice.
This is gonna be a tough one because I've been wavering back and forth in this one. Dan, you are the picker of this movie. You chose this. What Skull Award rating would you give to The Invitation?
I'm gonna go with an 8. It's high up there for me. It's not a perfect film by any means, and I think you guys have definitely helped me see some of the flaws of the movie after this talk. So, it's definitely down a skull because of that. But also, I think that it is so high because you can tell that it was done on a lower budget, and I love kind of what not only can be done in one location type of movie, but with very well shooting things in an interesting way. And definitely the editing of this movie was fantastic too. I thought kind of the imagery that they show you in between things, like hearing conversations while you're watching Will walking outside. I thought that was all really well done. So that's why it's kind of high up there for me. Definite 8. Love that ending.
What about you, Ryan? What did you think about The Invitation after seeing it for the very first time?
I'm going to go 7.5.
Oh, still up there. Nice.
I think that this movie lives and dies on Will for me. Will was incredible. I think that he does a great job. The character moments were good. The emotion is gripping. And I do think that, as I said at the beginning, the movie does a really good job of sitting in that kind of social that social discomfort and handles that really well. And I think that the relationships feel realistic. And to Dan's point, the cinematography in this movie is brilliant. The lighting's cool. The shots are cool. Some of the details of like, they come and bring out the birthday cake. They're like, it's a week early. Like they're like celebrating because it's close. Like there's a lot of cool stuff about this movie that I did really enjoy. And overall, the story was compelling. I just think that there were some things that could have been done better. And I wish the payoff was better. I wish that like at the end, it felt like it came together more. There was a lot of cool stuff that happened. I think that escalation of that shot where they're doing the CPR and then all of a sudden they just shoot the doctor, and that instant realization, that twist of like, holy shit, it's all going south. That was also cool. And then it kind of just, it all reaches its logical conclusion. And then you're just kind of done. And I wish that it had a little bit more of an oomph to that ending. I also, specifically, I think that Eden was a tough point for me. I liked Will and Eden's struggle throughout the movie, but then her being regretful at the end and them kind of like carrying her out to the backyard despite all the shit that went down also felt very strange of like, yeah, it's your ex-wife, you have this shared trauma, like you've covered all this stuff, like the I miss him moment is very poignant, but then to be like, carry me out to the backyard after I just murdered all of our close friends and basically like found family, and they're like, yeah, sure, we'll honor your, like, what? Like, So 7.5 for me. I enjoyed it overall. I just had there were some things that were eyebrow raising that bothered me.
That's fair enough. I mean, it's the nature of personal opinion. That's why we're doing this show. And I got to say, I was going back and forth between 7.5 and 8 myself. And I actually think that you just talking about Eden like that made me go back up to 8, because that moment is poignant to me, because again, I agree. The movie lives and dies on Will and him dealing with his trauma and his emotions. And here is the woman that he loved until very recently, and their marriage fell apart because they couldn't deal with this unbelievably huge grief together. And he's about to lose her. He knows he is. She's in so much grief. She doesn't shoot herself in the head or the heart. She shoots herself
stomach,
in the uterus.
Yeah. Uterus, where she could. It's
That's
like
fair.
she's blamed. There's so much guilt in that. She's like
The
I
center of her
That's true.
pain.
Yeah.
I mean, that was that. Of all the moments in this movie, that just made me that really hit me hard.
And seeing it a second time, that scene in the kitchen where they're just talking about grabbing glasses and stuff, like I still saw love in Will's eyes for her that I could not like when he was like, it's like the mother of his child that they lost together, and she's just like apologizing, just I want to die outside. Like, I don't want to die here in this house. I want to die outside. Him not carrying her. I just thought it worked for me. I thought,
and actually, that point, I don't want to die in the house, the center of my trauma put me out. Actually, I think that's going to convince me, right? That right there, because like
she died where her son died.
What you guys are saying,
when you think about it.
And
and
to get, she's trying to get away from everything that haunts her. And I to your point with the Will thing, everyone has that one relationship that like went south that they just couldn't fix. And I feel like they did do that. I agree with you guys. I'm going to cave. Well, I think that you're right.
I want to go even further. You're saying she wants to get away from it. I would think she wants to get closer. Her son was hit outside, and she wants to go die outside where he died too. I think that like she's
as close to him as possible.
In her final moment, she's like, take me out there where he died. I want to go out there.
What does she say at the one part as well? I just want to be with him.
Yeah.
That's why she wants to die, because the cult is telling her, you'll see all the people that you miss.
You'll be with them.
You can be with them, right? And that's all she was wanting out of this. And I think that that's something as well, is that she never actually takes any direct action to harm anybody. It's all Pruitt. It's all David.
Yeah.
It's all the crazy chicks. Sadie.
David sucks.
David sucked. Yeah.
David sucks.
He's such a.
But honestly, I think you're right. And like also her last words being "I hope we" and trailing off is really powerful. Yeah. Like you guys are right. It's an 8. It's an
There
8.
you go. Look at that.
It's a remarkably powerful movie with a couple of flaws, but I think it's a very strong movie. I think it also makes a very strong statement about personal grief, about personal trauma. I think it's pretty clean on that. So yeah, so 8s across the board.
There we go.
For
Look at that.
I think this is the first movie we've all agreed on a score
Yeah,
too.
I think so. And I think we all got the same thing out of it for the most part. I think, we disagree on the things that work and the things that don't work. But I think overall we agree it's a very strong movie. And if for some reason you've gotten to this point, ladies and gentlemen, and you have not watched The Invitation, well, it's all spoiled now. So never mind. Forget about it. No,
honestly,
go watch
I have one fun fact that I think while I was looking up the Claire thing, I found that I think would have been very interesting for this film. Is that originally the cast was a little bit more star-studded?
Yes.
Oh, really?
And they had
That is true.
They had Johnny Galecki and Zachary Quinto, and I don't remember
Luke
the other
Wilson and Topher Grace.
What?
and yeah, Topher
What
Grace.
happened?
And so they wanted to, at least according to the thing that I found, they said that they wanted it to be less about the people on screen and more about the actual people, like the character. They didn't want people associating anything with the characters in advance. I
see.
I don't know. I almost feel like it could have been cool to see all those people in these roles, but I don't think that the movie is lesser for it. I think that the characters speak for themselves. But I also just am a big Zachary Quinto fan. I would have loved to see Zachary Quinto.
I think Topher Grace would have been a great Ben. But here's the thing:
sure.
is that it also would have been more showy. It would have felt a little bit bigger, and this way it feels more like actual people that we know in LA.
That's true.
Like this
That's
felt
true.
like the average person that even having Logan Marshall Green grow like the long hair and the beard, so he's not quite as pretty, because he's a very pretty guy. If you've seen him in like Devil or Prometheus or what was it? He was
Is
in,
that where he's from?
He also was in Upgrade. That's the other one. Upgrade.
Oh, that's him?
Yeah.
That's the same guy, right? Yeah.
Same guy.
Upgrade. Oh, I hope
Which
we
is
get
a
to watch
fun
that
movie.
one. That's good.
Upgrade's fun.
Honestly, I think that we didn't touch on it. I think the flashbacks with him throughout the movie are so powerful.
So good. Yeah.
Just having him interact with places in the house and have these echoes of those, that was also
Him
a
and
highlight
the son
of
in
the
the
movie.
2-shot profile looking at each other, and they both open their eyes at the same time and smile at each other at the same time.
Or the sink got me. Him just washing his hands in the sink
Yeah.
and teaching his son, like, God, so viscerally brutal, but also beautiful.
Yeah. That's a great way to describe this movie. So we'll wrap it up with that. A great description of The Invitation. But that means we're done with The Invitation. We're done with Happiness.
We are. So that
the
means
the ironically chosen
Yes.
Happiness. So Dan, you're on the spot again. It's time
I'm
to
on the
reach
spot.
into your
my,
bucket of doom,
my little
your trick or treat bucket there,
trick-or-treat
and
bucket.
pull out a new one.
Let's see what
So
I get.
drum roll, please. What is the
Drum
next
roll.
prompt for you, Dan?
The next prompt
Marcha
for
Madness.
me that we will hear. Oh,
Uh-oh.
I just said that
Your
I wanted
face just lit up.
I just said I wanted to do a movie. We just talked about Upgrade, so this is a choice that could fit within this, but my prompt is technology.
Okay.
Upgrade could fit if I want to go that way, but I'll think about it. I'll think about it.
Tetsuo Iron Man. Tetsuo
Oh
Iron
my
Man. Oh, sorry.
gosh.
I'm not allowed to suggest. I'm not allowed to suggest things.
We're gonna watch Robert Downey Jr.
This is
Oh
this
no,
is
very
where we
different
go.
Iron Man. It's a very
know,
different
I know.
Iron Man, my friend.
I'm kidding.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so we're going to head on out of here. But before we go, we do need to remind you to go check out our Instagram page at TIWYD over on the IG. And of course, we have to tell you, if you want to prepare for our next episode, it's going to be my pick. It's going to be my pick for the cue that I got. The prompt that I got was transformation. Transformation. And the movie that we're going to watch for our next episode, that we're going to discuss the next episode of This Is Why You Died, will be
What is
from
it?
2024,
New?
Recent.
The Substance,
Ooh. Okay.
starring
okay.
Demi Moore.
Oh,
I'm not gonna say anything about it other than it's been very well reviewed and people seem to like it a lot. And Ryan, you're gonna have a blast with this one.
Ryan is not going to return to the podcast. I think Ryan is going to be in the fetal position in a corner of his house, wondering why we made him watch this movie. I can't
So,
wait
ladies
to
and
talk about them.
next episode I have to reveal what I picked too. So next I still
That's
have
right.
betrayal is my prompt.
You have
so
betrayal
we'll have to see
out
what
there.
I pick for
That's
that.
a good one.
So Ryan, you think about betrayal, and everybody watch The Substance from 2024, and we will see you next time right here on
This is why you die.